speak. I'm a family physician from Cudahy. I'm also a small business owner. I have 7 employees that like to keep working. I'm here to speak to you.
Hey, this is a physician talking, a doctor. We just had a nurse. If you want real facts, listen up to this.
Absolutely, sorry. So I'm a physician from Cudahy. I'm a family doctor. My wife and I own this clinic. We intentionally located it between a low-income housing center and a senior center because we want to care for people that other people don't care about. We put ourselves on a bus route and we put ourselves next to a bus stop because we want to take care of people who can't drive. I come here to speak to you because I want to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. I'm very concerned that more people are dying of this quarantine than are dying of COVID.
That's right.
The April 17th New England Journal of Medicine has an article which states that it appears very clear that the impact of the quarantine on the health of our population will be greater or at least equal to the impact of COVID itself. This is really, really important. One of the concepts we talk about in medical ethics is transferred death. This is not a question about whether we want to save lives or not. This is not a two-sided argument where one side gets to say we're saving lives and anyone who disagrees is a selfish, greedy jerk who doesn't care about lives. It's important to look at this. Since we have had this quarantine, I have had a substantial increase in the number of patients who are calling me because they lost their job, they lost their insurance, they can't afford their insulin, they can't afford their asthma medication, they can't afford their seizure medicines. These patients will die because they lost their jobs.
That's right.
On top of that, we're in a situation where people who have asthma are told by the media, you're at a much higher risk of dying of COVID. So we're gonna close down the pulmonary clinic and we won't see you. So I, as a family doctor, am seeing people who would usually see their pulmonologist because the pulmonology clinic is shut down. I've also been practicing a lot of dentistry because the dentists are shut down. I'm practicing a lot of psychiatry because the psychiatrists are shut down. We're having an increase in the suicide rate because we shut down the psychiatric hospitals, the outpatient clinics, the intensive outpatients. And the problem we run into is we're transferring death at best from one group to another. We're not asking the question, would you save your neighbor? We're asking the question, would you save your neighbor by throwing your child down a well? Okay? It's not a free choice. People will die of this quarantine, and that's really, really important. If an equal number of people are saved by the quarantine as die from the quarantine, that's not ethical.
Right.
And that's really an important thing to look at. And what really bothers me as a physician is that we're not talking about this as a society. We're not talking about the cost. An article that was published in the Los Angeles Times this week states that the number of people we are treating for heart attacks and strokes in the United States is down by 30%. Okay? And that's not because they're not having a heart attack, it's because they're not getting treated.
Right.
And people will die because we're not treating these things. And, so the point here is that we have to look at the whole picture. I'm not coming here to say the World Health Organization is bad. I am not coming here to say the CDC is bad. Please listen to me. Please listen to me. Look, I'm not here to say they're bad people. They're trying to do the best they can. But, listen, before you judge, let me finish my statement. I'm not here to judge them. These are people who are trying hard. But the problem is that they have too close of a focus. They're looking at too small of a thing. And this is why I want us to be able to talk reasonably about what's going on. The question is not whether or not COVID is bad. COVID is bad, it kills people. The question is your treatment worse? One of the reasons that a family doctor is talking here is, as a family doctor, my job is to coordinate the ideas that are brought up by specialists. Several times in my career, I've had someone who's been diagnosed with a really bad lung cancer called oat cell carcinoma of the lung. For when you're diagnosed to death, on average, it's 6 weeks. I've had oncologists tell my patient, well, I'll do this advanced chemotherapy and radiation, and it'll reduce your risk of death by 30%. I sit down with the patient and I say, do you know what that means? That means you're 30% less likely to die this week, and your life expectancy is 8 weeks, not 6 weeks. And you get to be on chemotherapy and radiation the whole time. And they go, that's not a good deal. I don't like that. What I'm talking about here when we're looking at the COVID situation is not attacking the people who are trying to help. What I'm talking about is going, is this the best choice that we could make? Does it make sense? Are we weighing things the right way? And that's what I want to talk about. I want to look at the lives that are lost. The problem that we run into is when we see cancer, many people get so fascinated with that, they don't measure the whole picture, as the example that I gave. There's another C word going around, it's COVID. And when people hear that, they focus only on COVID. This Monday, the New York State Health Department decided to put out a mandate that they would not do CPR on anyone for any reason under any circumstances. Now, I don't think the person who did that is trying to be evil. I think they're so focused on COVID that they can't see the big picture. What they're doing is they are focused on the fact that CPR can spread COVID, and they've ignored the fact that CPR is for heart disease. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death for all people in all places for the last 100 years. 1 person in 2 dies of heart disease. You can't put COVID over that. I imagine some of you, since 50% of you will die of heart disease, would like CPR at some point. The point we're putting here is, if you put things in the wrong order, you result in increased death. And increased death is bad. And that's what I want to point out here. One of the examples I give when I teach my medical students is that people don't like to die by being eaten by sharks. But the interesting thing is that on average, 5 people per year are killed by being eaten by sharks. On the other hand, in an average year in the world, 70 people are killed by falling coconuts. But no one's afraid of coconuts. The interesting thing is that it's actually more dangerous to stand on the shore and worry about the sharks than to go in the water. What I'm saying here is that staying indoors, worrying about the epidemic, is more dangerous than going outside. So yes, this does put us in a position where meeting together may spread COVID. But apparently, and from the evidence, we're more likely to die if we stay home. And that's the important thing we need to look at. We need to look at all lives, not just COVID lives. Thank you.